Hi, everyone. Welcome to another session of Christian leadership. Um, we are actually moved to the second section of Christian leadership. We've actually looked at section one, which is leading through time, and now we are looking at section two, which is winning with people. And last class we actually started with this. We looked at how leadership is about influence. It involves people, and so since leadership is about leading people or influencing people for their good, right? So that is what we are looking at. And so um, people are part of the whole process of leadership or leading. And so we are looking at arriving at some place where it's an advantageous position for the people, right? For everyone, it's a win, right? So it involves having a relationship, like having a healthy relationship, whether it's a team that you're leading, whether it's a colleague that your team that you're part of. So it requires that, right? It requires having a healthy relationship, and it requires, when we say winning with people, we are talking about, for everyone it is a win, right? Where everyone comes to a place of a advantageous position because of whatever they are involved in. It could be a project, it could be something that they are part of, a work, a ministry, everything. So it requires a win. Relationally it requires a win, and also in terms of implementation or reaching a completion, it requires a win, right? So when we look at certain biblical principles, and we see in Matthew chapter 22 with the Lord Jesus saying that when the Pharisee comes and asks, okay, what is the most important law or most important thing in the word, in the scriptures, which is the greatest commandment? And the Lord gives two. He says, okay, you know what it is. You need to love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And he says, this is the great commandment. And the second one is that you love your neighbor as yourself. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And so he summed it all up, and he's saying in Matthew 22:40, saying, on these two commandments rest all the law and the prophets, or hang all the law and the prophets, right? So this loving God, very important, and also loving people is very, very important. Okay. So um, so the first thing, when it comes to winning with people, is to get ourselves ready to relate to people, to relate to others. Okay. So it could be people in your team, it could be people that you're leading, it could be people who are part of your team, right? Whatever it is, we need to understand that, okay, I need to prepare myself in order to relate to people, right? In order to, even before considering leading them, how can I relate to people? How can I do that in a very healthy way? Okay. Because a lot of things, like many times, success in leadership, okay, success in leadership, success in leading successfully, well, 15%, like somebody says, of the Carnegie Foundation, 15% of the time, success is because of the knowledge that you might have of how to get a job done, right? Maybe it's a technical job, 15% of success comes from the knowledge. But the rest of it, which is 85%, it is our ability to connect with people, right? Because a lot of it depends on people doing their responsibilities, people carrying out various tasks. So our ability to connect with people, our ability to influence, our good, a relationship with people, that matters, and that's a huge part of the job, huge part of getting the job done, right? So huge part of the success. So it's 85% comes from that. So when it comes to ministry, we work with people, we learn from them, we serve people with the gifts, we disciple others, and so a lot of things happen with people in ministry, right? We are serving others, and when we consider ministry, yes, in various forms of ministry, people are always are there, right? People are either you are influencing, you are teaching, you are building up, you are learning from, all that happens. So people are always there. So how do I relate to people, right? We need to relate to people well so that it's a healthy way, right? It is one extreme, which is an unhealthy way, is okay, I'm going to please people all the time. Okay, I'm going to say what they want to hear, and I'm going to be on their good books all the time. And then, that is one unhealthy extreme of it, right? Okay, so let's look at what is the healthy way to relate to people, right? Some 5 principles John C. Maxwell talks about, very helpful, right? The first principle. Now, this is to help us relate to people, right? That's the topic. So, the first principle that we look at is what we can call as the lens principle. Okay, so lens principle means like anyone who wears glasses, you have these lens, right, as part of the glasses, and the lens helps bring focus to your vision, right? If I take my glasses off, it's a little blurry. I can't read what's on the screen. Okay, now that brings clarity, that brings focus, it sharpens everything. Okay, so the lens principle is the way we see ourselves, okay, is very important. Again, going back to who we are in Christ and having a healthy picture, the way we see ourselves is very important because it's going to affect or influence the way we relate to people. Okay. So you might be wondering, how can the way I see myself, how should it change the way I see people, right? How does it change the way I relate to people? Shouldn't be the other way. The way I see people, that is the most important thing, irrespective of how I see myself. We might have those questions, right? But the thing is, unless we have a healthy image of ourselves, right? The way we see ourselves needs to be healthy for us to relate to people. Okay. Like, for example, if we don't see ourselves as someone of value or someone of worth in God's eyes, right? If we don't see ourselves as someone who is, who's important to God, who's precious to God, if we have a very low self-worth, right, then that's going to affect the way you relate to people. How? Any thoughts? If you have a low self-worth, how it is going to affect the way you relate to people?
I have a so low self-esteem with God, I myself will be trying to shun away from God. I myself will be trying to be inferior and thing, and that will also reflect in the same way I relate with interpersonal things. So I
Yeah.
will always be distant. I will always be thinking very low of myself and things. So they will not have that connect.
Okay. So if I don't have a healthy self-respect or self-worth, then what you're saying, you distance yourself from others. Yeah. Yeah. So it's yeah. So distance yourself from God, and you're also distancing yourself from people, right? So okay, you're called to relate to people, you're called to lead people, but you are not really interacting with people. You're distancing, you're avoiding people because you feel that, hey, what if the others see that I'm not great? I'm not a great person, or I have so many flaws, so many problems, so many limitations, right? And if they see that, then whatever my importance or anything goes down. So it's better I avoid people, right? So that is one thing. The other thing is also, if I have a very so low self-worth or I feel inferior, so when it comes to people, let's say I need to lead them, there's no other go, then I try to portray myself as someone who's very great. Right? I portray myself, which means I try to, I try to, sorry? Yeah, I try to actually maybe sometimes dominate, right? Because I don't want others to, get ahead. I don't want others to be someone who can be better than me, right? I'll try to dominate. I'll try to do some things in order. I might even try to put you down, talk bad about you, so that you know because of my own insecurity, because of my own low self worth. I try to dominate. I try to portray myself as someone who is actually more or better than you, right? So that is how our relationships gets affected because of a low self image, or an incorrect self image, right? So the way we see ourselves is very, very important. Through what lens do we see ourselves, right? Is it through the lens of maybe accomplishments? Is it through the lens of our position, influence, background? Oh, I come from such a wonderful family, prestigious family, political family, or even sometimes even in ministry, we say this family of generation of pastors or generation of you falling back on that. That's the lens that you're using to see yourself. Maybe riches, maybe position, maybe accomplishments, and you're seeing yourself through that. And so your value and everything comes from that, right? Or you're seeing yourself through what you don't have, right? I don't have enough. I don't have education. I don't have accomplishments. I don't have all these skills and abilities. And so you see yourself as a person who's having a very, very low self-worth because you don't have all this. You had a question, like,
That's a reflection point. As a child of God, you must start seeing yourself as how God sees you.
yeah,
And that's where you actually build up your self image, and you
exactly.
value
Yeah,
yourself. Then you
yeah,
become more approachable too.
yeah, yeah. So our self-worth then does not depend on circumstances, or whatever we lack or whatever we have in abundance, right? It doesn't come out of that, but it comes from the true picture of how the Lord considers us. The Lord is not considering us special because of our bank balance. The Lord is not considering us special because we don't have a good bank balance, right? He's not considering us special because of our the number of degrees that we have education, right? Or he's not considering it special because of our lack of education either, right? He's considering us as special because of the worth and the value that he gives us as his sons and daughters, as his children, as his creation, right? So that is why John 3:16 is very liberating, because it says God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. He did not love the world because of its special qualities, or anyone in the world because of their speciality, but he loved the world because of who he is. He's a God of love, right? He's a God who loves, and he he loved us, and because of that he gave himself for us, and that is something that gives us the true self worth, right? So it's not attached to anything, but it's attached to this pure and sincere and healthy love that comes from God, right? So that sets us free. It says, okay, it doesn't matter what I have, what I don't have, God will still love me. So that's liberating us, right? That sets us free. I don't have to perform anything. I don't have to do 101 things in order to be loved by God. God loves me. So from that position of strength, I go ahead and I accomplish. We go ahead and we do things, right? Knowing that he always is there to encourage, to love, and to support. And so the way we look at ourselves completely changes, right? And to add to that, we see several places in scripture which talks about who we have become because of the fact that we invited Jesus into our lives. Something has changed in us, right? We have become new creations. We have become people who are seated with him in the heavenly places. We have become co-heirs with Christ. Our standing with Christ changed. God changed because we are now justified by his precious blood, and so on. That we have become the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus, and all that. So that has changed a lot of things about us, right? So the more and more we learn, okay, this is how God sees me, or God looks at me, then that changes the way we look at ourselves, right? And that frees us to be who we are when we are with people, right? We don't have to put on a mask, put on an act to be approved by people, right? Many times we do that. Oh, I need to be, I need to be like this. I need to say like this. I need to do like this in order to win people's approval, win people's, whatever, for them to see me as someone special. Now, all that goes away. No pressure. We are totally free to be ourselves, right? So that is the thing. So that is why that lens, when we look at that lens principle, our self-image, a healthy self-image, is going to change the way we relate to people. No, these could be people who are younger than us, older than us, and maybe we are leading them or we are part of that team. Whatever it is, it changes the way we relate to them. Right. Okay. The second principle that we look at is the mirror principle. It is similar. It is similar to what we looked at as the as the lens principle. But the mirror principle meaning that when you look at the mirror, you see a reflection of yourself, right? You see the faults, you see whatever it gives you a true reflection of what you look like, right? That is why we look at the mirror. We kind of comb our hair, whatever. We check ourselves in front of the mirror before we go out. Right? We check, right? So, honest opinion. So, we must be aware. So, the mirror principle is that, are you aware of yourself? In other words, are you self-aware? Do you have an understanding of who you are? Do you have an understanding of, sometimes, kids, when they are sleepy, when they are hungry, they cry. Now, they don't understand why they are irritated. Right? They cannot. They're too small to understand that if something is wrong, they know that, and they start crying. Right? They get irritated. It's because of lack of sleep. They don't want to go to sleep. They keep crying. Right? They're very cranky, and they don't understand. So the thing is this: sometimes we don't understand the irritation that we feel. Right? We don't understand, why am I in a bad mood? What is bothering me? We don't understand. Right? But when we understand that, when we are aware, hey, I'm feeling this way because I'm tired. It's not nothing to do with anything wrong, nothing. I just need to sleep for some time, right? Rest for some time, and I'll be fine. I'm feeling this way because I'm tired, right? Or I'm feeling this way because this person said this and said some not so nice things, and I've really taken it to heart, and that is irritating me. That is why I'm feeling this way, and I need to stop. I need to stop that. So what is that? Self-awareness. You're aware of what you're feeling, and even some of the emotions that you feel. Right? Maybe you're upset, maybe you're fearful. Why are you feeling that way? Right? We need to be aware. That self-awareness is actually a very good thing. Right? So we can make corrections. But if we don't have that awareness, self-awareness, we'll end up hurting people and not really checking our own selves. Saying, okay, I should not make these decisions now. Right? I should not be driving now. I should not be making these choices, making these difficult decisions, important decisions. I should not do it now because now is not the right time. I'm not in the right frame of mind. Right? I'm irritated. I'm troubled. I'm frustrated because of certain things that did not go well. Now is not the right time to make these important choices. Right? So what is it? You're aware. You're self-aware, right? So that is the mirror principle, right? The psalmist says this, Psalm 139, verse 23 and 24. It says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me, and know my anxieties, and see if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." He's just asking the Lord. He's saying, Lord, you search me, you try me, you know my anxieties and everything, and Lord, you show me, like, you show me the way everlasting, lead me in the way everlasting. But he's saying, like, Lord, if there's anything in me, you know it, right? You show and know my heart, Lord. Try me, know my anxieties, and see if there's any wicked way in me, right? So sometimes we are very, very aware, we are clear, This is how we are. We understand ourselves. And sometimes we don't, right? And that is why we can always lean on God. And we can say, Lord, you show me, you teach me, Lord. Why am I feeling this way, God? You show me. And the Lord, the Holy Spirit, who is who indwells us, will show us. And that is when we know that, okay, these are areas that I need to change. These are not my strengths yet, right? These I need to change. These are areas where I need to change. These are areas of strengths, but these I feel that they are areas of improvement. I need to work on it. I'm being impatient in these things. I need to work on it. I'm not very, I'm biased in these things. I need to work on it. Towards this person, because of the way they behaved earlier, I'm prejudiced, right? Whatever they say, I'm looking at it through that earlier conflict. So I need to change, right? So we need to be aware, self-aware, and that's the mirror principle. Just like how we look at ourselves in a mirror and we know, okay, I need to comb my hair here. It's out of place. Or, I need to set myself a little, the tie that I'm wearing is all, it's gone to one direction. I need to, bring it back to the middle. How do I know? Because I'm looking at the mirror, right? So that's the principle. If we are self-aware, right, and then we know what are those things that we need to change, what are these things that we need to just bring that shift in alignment, so that we can relate to people better. Okay, so we're looking at how we can be better at relating to people. First one, the lens principle, right? Having the true image of ourselves. Second one, knowing, okay, what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what are some areas that we need to improve on. That will help us, right? Okay. The third principle is what we call as the pain principle. Okay. What is pain? What does pain tell you? Suppose you're feeling pain in your leg. What is it telling you? What is your body telling you? Huh? Care for? Care for the leg. Okay. What else? You have to do something about it. Okay. It's hurting. Okay. Showing a weakness. Okay. So pain, in other words, pain is showing you something is wrong. It's showing you something is wrong. Something in the body is wrong. And that's why I'm experiencing pain. If there is a cut, it says, okay, you hit yourself somewhere against some metal piece, it's cut, it's bleeding, and you're experiencing pain. And that's why, you need to do something about it, because something is wrong. Okay. So now this pain principle, it means that if I'm hurting, then the way I relate to people is going to be different. Okay. And if others are hurting, the way they relate to me is going to be different, because pain causes us to behave in a certain way, right? Pain causes us to behave in a certain way, do certain things, and our choices change because of the pain we are experiencing, right? And so we need to understand. There is a saying, right? Hurt people hurt people. Okay, hurt people hurt people. That means that somebody who's hurt tends to pass on that hurt to others because of the pain that they are experiencing. Hurt people hurt people. Like people who are hurting tend to hurt others because of whatever they hurt they have, right? So, so it might be, let's say, there's a small issue, there's a problem that you're facing, right? And if you are having hurt, you will not respond to that problem in a simple manner, right? In proportion to the solution, like it's a simple manner. Or maybe somebody said something, for example, somebody said something in a joke. Maybe they said something in a funny way about you, okay? Made fun of you. Now, if you're already hurting because of something someone else said about you, maybe that person is making fun of the clothes that you're wearing, for example. Hey, today what, you're wearing some very baggy clothes or whatever, So somebody says, oh, you're wearing, your fashion is like grandfather's time. something they say. Okay, it's a funny thing. But if 2, 3 others have already hurt you with that same thing, but this person, is innocently making fun, but the way you respond will be in a lot of anger. Why? Because you've already been hurt by a similar incident, maybe twice or thrice before. You've already hurt, and you're carrying that anger. I mean, you're carrying that hurt and anger. So you will respond in a very hurtful way towards this person. So that's the thing, right? If we are carrying unresolved hurt, things that are not resolved, you can be sure that it is going to explode one day, right? It'll come out in one way because it's not resolved, right? It is still carrying, you're carrying hurt, you're carrying anger. And when you're relating to people and people maybe say something, do something, and in a manner that you didn't expect, in an unexpected time, it'll just come out, right? And you didn't mean to, but because of the hurt that you're carrying, because of the unresolved issues, it just comes out in the person to whom we were interested. And then you say, sorry, I didn't really mean to say that, right? I didn't mean to do that. So that's what happens. In family, it happens. In work relationships, in ministry, wherever, because we are dealing with people, and because we have not healed, right? We are still carrying unresolved things. It will come out and hurt people. And I'm sure you've experienced that, right? And the same also for others when they're interacting with us, right? So the thing is this: the verse that we saw even in a holiness class, 3 John verse 2, like chapter 1. There's only one chapter. Chapter 1, verse 2. Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. Right. So what is he saying? Be health in all things, just as your soul prospers. Your soul needs to prosper, which means your emotional health. You need to be thriving, flourishing, so that all other areas of our lives, relationally, relating to people, relating to God, everything, will thrive and flourish. So it says, be that you may prosper and be in health, just as your soul prospers, right? So, which means that we need to deal with those hurts. We need to ask the Lord to deal with those hurts. Don't ignore that, right? Don't ignore that, because we know that we can go to God, receive healing, right? And sometimes we might need to, intentionally let go of those hurts, let go of the past, let go of the hurts that we have faced, release forgiveness, what we've studied in our other classes, in a holiness class. And we might need to do that intentionally in order to receive healing. Okay. So what is it? Now, this is from our side, right? From our side, we resolve, and therefore we can relate to people better. Okay. So we are studying about how we can prepare ourselves to relate to people. So if there are unresolved things, deal with it. So that, why? So that you can relate to people better relationally, right? But what if others are hurt and they are dealing with you? That also happens, right? You're leading people, and well, they are carrying issues, unresolved hurts, unresolved things of the past. Okay. So when we are dealing, when we are interacting, they sometimes say things and do stuff, and we know it's because of something that is not resolved in their past. Okay. And when we meet with people, we realize that, hey, this is not a simple interaction. The statement that they are making, it's not an innocent remark. It's a loaded remark. It's coming loaded with the past, the pain of the past, right? So when we're dealing with people who are hurting, some practical things to consider, right? When they make personal remarks, don't take it personally, right? Look at it objectively. Don't take it personally. Right? They might say, you did something, something that you said, but they are coming out with so much of hurt in their remarks. Right? They take it very personally. They're saying things that, and you're wondering, why? What did I say? What did I do? I just said something which is very simple, and then they are like coming you know, um, with so much of anger, so much of hurt. Right? So I remember once, I was, this is, I was in another church and dealing with some leaders of that church. And I asked a very innocent question, right? So I asked the person who was there. There was a couple. So I asked the lady, so will you be coming for the camp? Right? Will you be coming for the camp? But that person just exploded back saying, you want us to come or not? For me, it was a very innocent, simple question. I was like, will you be coming? For me, because it was, I needed to make logistics, arrangements. So you're coming, right, for the camp? Will you be coming? And that person just said, you want me to come or not? And I was like, oh, wow, where is this coming from? This obviously, it's not something very, very simple. And so I said, yeah, definitely, we want you to come. And that's why I'm asking. And then, the whole issue got, she came and apologized and said, I'm so very sorry and all that. And then I realized in the past, things have happened and maybe they were excluded from being part of, these camps and all that. So as leaders, I don't know, she felt very hurt. So things like that, right? So the thing is, when you know that it's coming from a place of hurt, you don't take it personally. Now, it requires maturity, right? It requires maturity. It requires us, saying, okay, I know where this is something immature. I'm not going to consider it. Right? This response is immature. It's coming from a place of hurt. I'm not going to take it personally. I'm just going to, just let it go, right? So that requires maturity from our side. Okay. Second thing, practical thing, look at it objectively. Look at the actual problem. Don't, don't go by the words or the emotions that the person is bringing, but you look beyond that person to what seems to be the actual problem. Okay, so you understand what you're saying, looking at, right? So the person is saying something, but you go beyond the words, beyond the emotions to see what is the actual problem here, right? So what is the actual issue here? You need to go beyond the words, beyond the emotions, right? Okay. And the third thing is not to add to their hurt. They're already hurting, so you don't pile on and put some more baggage there, right? And that will happen if we let loose a very personal remark and we say, okay, you're always like this. You need to mature, you need to grow up. So at the same time, we know that we need to correct, right? We need to correct. We can't just reward their behavior with some, if we let go, or if if you're going to ignore, then it's a reward. I can do this, again, right? So you don't want to do that. So we need to do it in a very sensitive way, and we need to do it in a wise manner, objectively, right? Don't talk about the emotion, the way they said it. Don't talk about that. Address the problem and say, hey, you know what? This is the problem. We need to look at this problem. We need to solve this problem, and let's solve this. Right? The problem is, maybe people have people are not responding. People are not. Maybe that person is saying, I've been trying to get all people to listen to me, or they're not doing this, and so it's becoming a problem. It's becoming something that they're not listening to me. They're listening only to you. I think they are something like that, right? So, a situation, for example. So just see, okay, have you communicated this? Have you told them that they need to do this within this particular time, and they need to be here at this? Have you communicated to them clearly, right? In what way did you communicate? So that is the actual problem, right? So maybe it's a problem of communication, maybe it's a problem of clarity in that. So look at that objectively and solve that. And the other things like attitude and the way it was communicated, maybe that's why people are not responding. All that can be addressed objectively. And yeah, you have a question.
Pastor, especially when since you're talking about Christian leadership and especially in the area of ministry, when one person has an emotional outburst, okay, so is it better at that time not to immediately respond and to just tell them like, shall we talk about this later, or would you want to like address it then and there?
Yeah, sometimes what happens is a person has an emotional outburst and it's affecting the other person or maybe a group of people in the team. Then it needs to be addressed then and there openly. Um, uh, or maybe even if it's not addressed then and there, but it needs to be addressed publicly because the outburst happened publicly and maybe it didn't affect you, but it's affecting 3 4 people. So maybe we need to do certain other things, important things, and maybe that was not the time for it. So time to address it. So we can say, okay, we are going to talk about it. We're going to address it, but it needs to be addressed publicly. But it can be done at a later time, right? Fine. Okay, so that's what we call as the hurt or the pain principle. So understand that hurt people are hurt people. So the proportion of response might be very very greater than the actual thing that is required. So then hey, there is a issue there. There's pain, and maybe it's a simple thing, but there people are flaring up. They're very angry. You know that it's maybe because of some unresolved things, right? So two ways. One is we look into our own lives and see if there's anything unresolved. So we deal with it, right? And when others come and interact with us, relate to us, and if we detect anything that is unresolved or something that they make, some statement that they are saying or doing because of their past hurts, then we look at it very objectively. Don't be swayed and react in response. That will not solve the problem, right? Okay. Okay. Then we look at one more principle, and then maybe we can have take some questions. Okay. One is the hammer principle. Okay. Now, there's a saying, right? Never use a hammer to swat a fly off someone's head. Okay, that means that what do you use a hammer for? Driving a nail, right? So if there is a mosquito or a fly on somebody's head, will you use a hammer? No, because it might kill the fly or the mosquito, but it's going to hurt the person more. Right? So it means that okay, you want to solve a problem, solve it, but the way you solve it, what do you use to solve it, or the force of the your response, that did not destroy the person. So, in other words, he's saying don't overreact to a small problem, to solving a problem. Okay, don't overreact to it. So, because if you overreact, you might solve the problem, but you're going to bring in more hurt to the person or to the people involved, and it's going to take a long time to recover from that, right? Because you've hurt the person, you've hurt the people. Now it's going to take some time. It's going to take a while for them to recover, to come back to a place of health, right? Because emotions, etc. So that is the thing. Don't overreact. So James chapter 1 verse 19. My beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. Okay. What does swift mean? Be quick, right? So he's saying be quick to hear. Okay. So you hear. Let that be the first thing. Let that be the first response. But you be slow to speak. Okay. So in response to what you're hearing, don't react, respond. Okay. What does react mean? What is the difference between reacting and responding? React, respond. Is there a difference? Anyone online also? Yeah.
Reaction often is like in the same tone. No, you react, you say something in anger on the road, and I also react in the same manner instinctively. I think respond is irrelevant. So if you react in an anger manner to me, I can choose to respond in a soft manner.
Mm.
It's a slight thing, but how you?
Mm. Okay. Now, yeah, anyone else wants to share the difference between reacting, responding? So the thing is, reacting is more reflexive in nature, right? It's a reflex. You don't. There's not much thought given to it. You react instinctively, like you said. You react in a manner that in a reflex. So it may not always be correct, right? May not always be correct. You can have a righteous reflex. That's great, right? Again, your mind is renewed, and this is how it is. Your character is so changed that you have a righteous reflex. That's a great thing. And so, what is the difference? The difference is when it's a response, you've thought about it. You're taking some time to think about it, and you're going back and responding. You're giving a response, right, to their behavior or to their words, but it's a thoughtful thing, right? You've thought about it. There's time has passed, right? So you're responding, and your response it can be good or bad, right? But the fact is that you've thought about it. So most cases, our response, because we've given thought, and as believers, because we've maybe prayed about it, our response can be a very righteous response, right? It need not be a very unrighteous thing. Here, James chapter 1:19, he's encouraging the believer, my brethren, be swift to hear. You hear, yeah, you collect the information, you get it. Somebody's saying this, okay, yeah, be swift to hear. But be slow to speak, in a sense, don't react, right? You process it, you see it, and then you respond. Okay. Sometimes we have to respond quickly, right? We can't delay. We have to respond, but be slow to respond, be slow to speak, be slow to wrath, in the sense, sometimes you get triggered, right? It produces, you see the injustice sometimes, or sometimes you are upset, you get angry, but be slow to it. Be slow to wrath. Even responding in anger, don't react in anger, right? So this is what it is. So what helps us? What are some things that can help us to not go with a hammer in order to hit a mosquito on somebody's face, right? What will help us is to see the whole picture, right? When somebody's sharing something, listen to them, right? Ask questions, get the full picture, right? And then you realize that person themselves, they realize that, hey, they don't have the full picture either, right? Then you ask questions. Okay, this person came and this person behaved like this, and somebody's bringing a complaint against someone, for example. Ask them the questions, right? And then you realize that they themselves are giving their perspective. They have not seen the full picture. So we need to get the full picture from whoever was involved in that problem, right? Maybe it could be two other people, three other people, okay, whatever. Get the full picture. So then we can respond to that problem. You can actually solve the problem. The problem can be solved in a different way, right? From what you originally thought how you should solve it, right? So why we are responding rather than reacting. So you are being slow to wrath, slow to anger, but you're speaking. Right? You're bringing in righteousness. You are bringing in justice. You're bringing in a solution, but you're doing it in a responding in a good way rather than you're considering all the possibilities, getting the full picture, getting all the facts, and then you're responding, right? Okay, timing. Act in a timely manner, in the sense, okay, don't delay or don't act, don't rush in. At the same time, don't delay, right? In a timing. That is what it means, when we need to act in a timely manner. Okay. The tone. What is the tone of your voice? Right? You can say the same thing, but the tone of your voice determines the actual message, right? You can say, come and sit down. Okay. So the tone of your voice, come, sit down. Okay, that's a different thing that you're communicating. But at the same time, come, sit down. Same message, 3 words, but the tone expressed something else, right? So you will realize that when you're actually angry, when you're arguing with people, the tone of your voice actually goes down. It becomes sharper, and you're becoming louder, right? You've noticed, right? When you're arguing with someone, you're not arguing in a calm manner, right? When you're arguing, there's a lot of emotion, and your volume goes up. You are actually you don't realize it, but you're actually shouting. Everybody's saying, "Shh, calm down," right? But your volume has gone up. You're increased in volume, and your tone, your pitch is also very sharp, right? So that is how your body reacts, right? So if we can actually bring it down, right, in terms of a tone and volume, then it also helps the situation. Even if that other person is shouting, screaming, if we respond in a calm manner, they will come down. They will calm down. But if you are going to be angry and this thing, that will also go up. So that is why Proverbs 15:1 talks about that. There's a soft answer turns away wrath. A soft answer, right? What happened? Why? It turns away wrath. Okay. Temperature, which means if the reaction is less than the action, the temperature decreases. Okay, so if your reaction is less than, they've come to hit you, but then if your reaction is less than that, you don't hit them in return or you don't retaliate, then even if they have come to hit you, they calm down, right? Because you're asking things in a very calm manner, they come down, right? So, so if we need to have let's say, a hammer is a very hard touch, hard response. If you need to have a softer response to people, some of these things we need to do. We come with a hard response because we are still considering the past, maybe past mistakes of that same person, right? And maybe that is why we are being hard on them. So let the past stay in the past. Look at this problem afresh, right? And ask yourself, is my reaction part of the problem, right? Thirdly, remember that your action will be remembered. Okay, how you're going to act now will be remembered. The words will be forgotten. People will even forget the actual details, or but your action will be remembered. So think about it. How are you going to act? Rethink. Are you going to act like this, or are you going to act in a different manner? Right? Your action is going to be remembered. Right? Okay. Never let the situation mean more than the relationship. Right? So you consider the relationship. Okay. At the end of the day, we are believers. We consider that, right? That does not mean that justice should not be done. Okay. Truth has to be spoken in love. But always consider, okay, is this going to break the relationship? Is it worth it? Is the situation or the problem, the conflict, whatever, is it worth breaking the relationship? No, that's something that we need to understand. If I react in this way, it's going to break the relationship. Right? Is it worth breaking the relationship? Okay. Loved ones, treat them with unconditional love. And if there's any part in which we have done wrong in the whole thing, right? We have done wrong. Admit that wrongdoing. Okay, there's nothing. We don't have to keep defending. Okay, this is something that I've done, and this is why I did it. We don't have to do that, right? If it's wrong, we can admit we are wrong. Okay, so these are something to do with the hammer principle. Excuse me, sorry. Yeah. So we'll stop here, and we'll come back next class, and we'll continue with this, right? And if there are any questions on this, we can address it then, right? Okay. Thank you. God bless. Take care.